Another interesting chapter from the Indian geography. Now, what is soil? There is a very important word that is mentioned in your NCERT, that is soil profile. So this is what is a soil profile, that is the arrangement of the various layers of soil. If you see the alluvial soil over here, everything that is marked in this white part, this whole part, this region. Mineral composition, it is rich in humus and potash, but it is deficient in phosphorus and nitrogen. This can be asked in your examination because hello aspirants, welcome to PW OnlyIAS English. I'm here Harpreet Singh with another interesting chapter from the Indian geography, that is Indian soil. And we're going to deal with all these stuff in detail. Let's see what are the things in store in this particular chapter. We have already done a lot of chapters with respect to the Indian geography. Let's see. We have done the Indian location, that is chapter number 1. Then chapter 2, that is structure and physiography. Then we have the drainage system. We've also done the climate. We've also done the natural vegetation. Now, please remember, students, this is a one-stop solution for you to achieve really good marks in your civil services examination and particularly your prelims examination. If you are following these lectures rigorously, if you're making your notes and revising it, I can guarantee you that multiple questions from these chapters are going to come in your examination and you will be very easily able to solve them. So please watch the lecture as many times till the time you have understood it. Make your notes, revise it again and again. And this is one way you can basically understand the basic concepts of a particular chapter or a subject as a whole. So here is a Telegram group where you can basically find this particular PDF after the lecture has been posted on the channel. Along with it, a lot of guidance with respect to anthropology optional, society and geography, obviously. Let's begin with today's chapter, that is soil. Now, something really very interesting. Whenever we talk about so many features, we've already discussed physiography, we've already discussed vegetation, we've already discussed climate. And in that process, a very important chapter is the soil. Now, what is soil? Soil is a mixture of rock debris, organic material, and which develops on the earth's surface. So something very easily, in very simple definition, what even the NCERT is defined, it is what? It is a mixture of rock debris, organic matter, which develops on the earth's surface. Now this soil is actually very important. Why? It is this on which you see multiple plants growing. You see agriculture being practiced. You see life being sustained. So it is very, very important for even the survival, very directly related to the survival of beings, species, whether it is humans, whether it is plants or other animals. So your existence is also related to the existence of soil, right? Now see, there are multiple factors that are basically affecting the soil. And based on them, few have been listed over here: relief or topography, parent rock, vegetation, climate, and other living organisms, and obviously time. If there is more time, obviously the kind of soil that is going to be different also, because the level of erosion that takes place also depends upon time. So all these points again play a very important role with respect to what type of soil is present in a particular region. Let's begin with this chapter. Now, when we see, there is a very important word that is mentioned in your NCERT, that is soil profile. Now, what is soil profile? It is basically the arrangement of different layers of soil. When we study soil, we see, if we see from a lateral view, see the various layers, then you are going to come across such type of diagrammatic situation. See, what is here? If I see the soil, if you see, this is a top part, generally which you see, right? The organic part. This is known as horizon A, or the first horizon. Now, what is it composed of? It is basically composed of organic and mineral water. Now, you will realize the plants which are, you can basically touch it, the plants growing over here, right? They might have the roots spread over various parts, right? So this is a top part, that is horizon A. Below this horizon is known as horizon B. Now, this is a transition zone. See, this is a transition zone where you will find some organic matter, and mineral matter noticeably weathered. So this is again a transition zone between this particular horizon, that is A, where you see the roots of various plants and all, and actually perceptible to human beings also. And this is again below that, this is a transition from horizon C to, and between horizon C and horizon A, this is this transition zone. So what is horizon C? It is basically loose parent material. It is a first stage of the soil formation where you realize, see, little bit of weathering activities is associated here. And below this are the parent or the bedrock. In certain books, it is known as horizon D, but certain books simply mention it as parent rock. Now this parent rock again has what? The various minerals that are present, and that ultimately leads to which type of soil will be formed later on when you see the weathering activities taking place. So again, the parent rock also determines the type of soil. So this is what is a soil profile, that is the arrangement of the various layers of soil having horizon A, that is the organic and mineral, having water and mineral. Horizon B, this is a transition zone from C towards A. Then you have the C, which is again a loose parent material that is present, and it is known as the first stage of the soil formation process. And later on, below that is the parent rock or the bedrock. This is the soil profile. Let's move ahead. Next comes the classification of soil as mentioned in your NCERT also. Now see, India has varied relief features, landforms, climatic reliefs, and obviously, and vegetation types. If you realize, India being such a wide country, such a huge area, 32,87,263 kilometers square, by default, we know that various relief features. There will be some regions which have a, let us say, very sharp slope, sharp location. Let us say they have a very high altitude where they are located. Some on a very planar scale. There will be various landforms that are present. And along with it, you will be having a lot of climate variations, which you've already studied in the chapter of climate. Along with it, various types of vegetation will be present. Now, these things basically do impact what type of soil there is going to be. That is why, because so much diversity is there, there is a large number of soils that are present in India. Now see here, this contributed in the development of various types of soil. Now in your NCERT, there are two words used with respect to the historical classification. Now these can be asked in your preliminary examination as one of the statements in the questions. Now see, first is Urvara. This is known as or means fertile soil. That means fertile. Then is Usara. This is sterile. That is something that is completely opposite of fertile. So these two words become again very, very important for your prelims perspective. Having studied this, let us move on to other bases, that is soil that is being classified on the basis of texture. That means size of the particles that are present. Now this is a very interesting diagram. You can remember it also. On one side is the sandy part, right? Now over here you realize if a soil is, let us say, more sandy in nature, that means the particle composition that is there is going to be more coarse in nature. Coarse in nature means, that means the size of the particles range from 0.05 to 2 millimeter in diameter. This will be coarser in nature. Now, obviously, you realize when you come across various soils, there are a lot of mixture of, let us say, the sand content, the silt content, and other, let us say, clay content. But if we say something is sandy, that means predominant aspect of contribution is from the side of the sand, and the overall texture means the overall composition of the particles range between these diameters on an average. Then you have the silt. Now these are medium particles where the size of the particles will range, the diameter will range from 0.02 to 0.05 millimeter in diameter. Then you have the clay. Now these are very fine they have very fine particles from less than 0.02 millimeter in diameter. So this is a classification based on what? The texture, size of the particles that are present in a particular soil. Now, between over here in all this diagram is a loam. That is why we use the word loamy soil. What do you mean by loamy soil? See, where all the three, that is clay, sand and silt, are nearly of an equal proportion. Nearly of an equal proportion, if not exactly, nearly of an equal proportion. So what is loamy soil? Loamy soil is that soil which has sand, silt and clay all approximately on a similar composition, let us say equal contribution is being given to that soil. So that is known as a loamy soil. Now this is something that you should be knowing because these words are going to be used when you are going to study the classification. Clear? Let's begin. This is the map overall that is with respect to the soil, right? So I have drawn this map. I'll be showing you repeatedly with every classification. So the first classification is alluvial soil, right? If you see the alluvial soil over here, everything that is marked in this white part, this whole part, this region, this is what? The alluvial soil. Again, it is a major soil. Again, the maximum amount of area is covered or under the alluvial soil. Let's see. Alluvial soil, what are the areas? Again, see, in the examination also, these small words that have been mentioned that I have taken from the NCERT and put them here are going to be asked in your prelims. Obviously, you can be asked questions in your mains examination also. So please understand, you should be knowing these details because sometimes what happens is when you're reading that, when you're reading certain, let us say alluvial soil or any classification, what you do is a major mistake that the aspirants do. They think that, okay, there are a lot of areas in which this particular soil is present, or for that matter, any other topic also. You would think, okay, let us read one or two or remember one or two, let's leave the others. In the examination, let us say in the options, supposingly these are not mentioned and these are mentioned, and that time what happens because you did selective reading and that is why you are not able to mark the answer, or due to overthinking in the examination, you get them wrong. That is why for the NCERTs, I've always told you, you should remember the NCERTs on the tips. They should be on your tips if you really want to qualify. That is the basic foundation for your civil services. Every year, every single year, in spite of telling the candidates that you need to do the NCERTs well, they will again come. Sir, shall we read the NCERT? Shall we open the books or shall we read these, that books? I again say, no, bache, you have to read it. Sir, tell us please, shall we read only this part? When it has been told to you to read the NCERTs properly, if you do not read, then you fail in the examination. Then you say, oh, we wish we could have listened to sir during that time. And by that time, you have already wasted 2 years, even 3 years. And then you realize, let's read the NCERT. And by the time when you start reading NCERTs, you realize your friends who had already did them are already in the service and you are still reading the NCERT, which had to be done in the first year of your preparation. And you tend to waste so many years. So please remember, those who neglect the NCERT then suffer very badly in later time. Now, many toppers who might be saying that we do not read NCERTs, please understand, you need to see certain people's background also. Let us say if someone says he or she never, let us say, read the newspaper, but you realize that person had already qualified the CAT examination. Now, if you are comparing to that person, you should also see your level where you are at that particular time. You have, let us say, not improved on your English and you are comparing with a person who has already qualified CAT with 99 percentile, that would be wrong. Similarly, every person has a different intellectual ability. Every person has the ability to qualify this examination, but different intellectual ability. So you need to atone to that. So for every child, every candidate, for an average IQ level also, I'm telling you, read the NCERTs properly. And here what you are doing right now, we are covering every detail properly. So at least if you are not following this, then it is very difficult for you to get that analytical or the foundation base strong. That is what we have to say. I've already said to you in various lectures that we have done. I'm saying it again. Please do it. After this, we will be coming. After this, there's one more chapter, which will be an end to the Indian geography part in NCERT. Please make the best use of it. This is what my advice would be to you. Areas which utilize northern plains. Now, northern plains, remember, is over here. You have already seen this northern plain region. You have seen Rajasthan part to Gujarat plains also have it. Eastern deltas and river valleys of the peninsular, and it's covering about 40% of the total area. That is why I said it is that soil which covers the maximum area in India. This can be asked in your paper. Automatically, it's covering 40%, so it is a maximum area in comparison to the other soil. Now comes the characteristics. Now see, notably in the upper and the middle Ganga plains. Now, what do you mean by notably in the upper and the middle Ganga plains? I'll show you. Two distinct types of Khadar and Bangar are found. Now see here. When I say upper Ganga plains and the middle Ganga plains, I am referring to these particular regions. Upper Ganga plains, middle Ganga plains. This is part upper Ganga, middle Ganga. Predominantly over here, you have Khadar and Bangar. What do you mean by that? It basically refers to, khada refers to new alluvial. We have already done this in the northern plain when we were doing the previous chapters in the structure and physiography. This is enriched annually by the floodplains, whereas the Bhangar are the older alluvial which are located away from the plains. See here, if you see over here, let us say this is a river flowing. This red part refers to the fresh alluvial that is deposited by the river because it is drying next to the river. So fresh alluvial will be repeatedly deposited. Now there will be other regions which are very far away from this river which had previously fresh alluvial, but now they are far away, so they do not have a fresh supply of the alluvial, and that is why these alluvial soil regions are not as fertile as the khada. This is a thing. Next, please understand. Both these types bear calcareous concretions known as kankar. Now, in this examination, you can be asked, what do you understand by kankar? With which mineral is it associated? First, calcium, sulfur, then they might mention certain other minerals. Please remember, it has got to do with calcium, right? Calcareous. So these are again calcareous concretions which are kankar. So associated with what? Calcium, Ca, calcium. This can also be asked. Sand content reduces from west to east. Sand content will reduce from west to east because you realize you have the arid soil over here. So the impact of the arid soil on these regions also increases. So as you move from this region to this region, the sandy content will decrease. This can again be asked as one of the statements in your examination. Okay, let's see. Now, please understand. This is again the alluvial soil. Clear? This is again a representation of the physical divisions of the northern plain which we had done. We had already done that in the plains also. Just south of the Shivaliks, you have the Bhabar, where basically the rivers which flow basically seep down inside them because of the larger size of the cobbles and pebbles that are present. Later on, moving forward, in the Tarai region, they basically again the streams reappear and they are seen flowing over here. This is again a very important region which has been converted for agriculture, the Tarai region. We have already studied this in the structure and physiography chapter, and we have already studied that part of Khadar and Bangar over here. So this basically completes the northern plain, which you see alluvial soil being present predominantly over here, this region. This is the northern plain part. So the northern plain basically we studied from these 4 dimensions. When we are studying the alluvial soil, we are focusing on the Khadar and Bangar, right? Okay, let's move ahead. Mineral composition, it is rich in humus and potash, but it is deficient in phosphorus and nitrogen. This can be asked in your examination because these minerals content, at least you should be knowing. Certain soils might be predominantly rich in some and might lack something, so you can write them, they have been written over here. So which are the important ones, right? Next comes, check your knowledge. As a question number 1, I want everybody in the comment section to write the answer of this particular question. The question is, which of the following is associated with sinking? So it's written twice. Let's, just a minute. Which of the following is associated with sinking of water underground? First, Bhabar, second, Tarai, Bagar, and Khadar. So you have to write your answer in the comment section. I'm repeating the question again. Which of the following is associated with sinking of water underground? First, Bhabar, second, Tarai, 3, Bagar, 4th, Khadar. Please write your answers in the comment section and let's see how many of you get the answer correct. Let's begin or continue. Again, you realize the next is black soil. You see this particular region, Hall is a black soil. This certain other parts also which are associated with black soil. So this is a black soil region, predominantly in the region of the Deccan Plateau. Now see, areas, Deccan Plateau covers parts of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu part also. The upper reaches of the Godavari and Krishna rivers and northwestern Deccan Plateau. So these are the regions where you see the black soil being present. If I see the characteristics, it is called Reger soil or the black cotton soil because the conditions that are present here are very suitable for the growth of cotton. That is why large cotton of a large extent in these regions is grown, widely grown. So that is why it is known as the black cotton soil or the Reger soil. It is clay, it is deep, and impermeable nature is there because it is clay, so automatically the lower layers is going to be clay, so impermeable nature is present. Now see, very often you will be seeing a lot of crack-like structures in the black soil are present. So let's see. It exhibits a unique swelling and becomes sticky when wet and shrinks upon drying, right? So when it is basically when there is a lot of water, so it basically becomes sticky. When it is in a dry state, then what will happen? It will basically shrink. So what you see over here is, because of this nature, a lot of crack-like structures are present over here, and these crack-like structures are basically beneficial for this soil particularly. What happens is that these cracks develop during the dry season and referred to as a self-flowing. Why it is known as self-flowing? Because during the time in these cracks, some moisture can basically be absorbed, and this lead to a self-plowing because it is plowing itself. Because when you see the plowing in normal cases in other soils, you realize that farmers are basically mixing and turning the soil, putting some moisture over there again. Now this is being done itself by the soil. So this is known as self-plowing mechanism of the black soil. So let's see here. This enables a slow moisture absorption and retention, providing moisture during the dry period. That is why this self-plowing is very useful for this particular soil, and that is why it is known as self-plowing, right? This is the cracks which are showing or being depicted over here. Mineral composition has surplus in it is a lime, iron, magnesia, aluminium, potash, whereas deficit in phosphorus, nitrogen, and organic matter. Let's begin. Check your answers. Okay, now this is again a very, very important question. Second question of your check your knowledge. Let's see. Let's see who all can answer in the comment section. The question is, which soil is called a self-plowing soil? First, black soil. Second, forest soil. Third, laterite soil. Fourth, alluvial soil. I will be waiting for your answers in the comment section, and let's see who all can get the correct answer. Let's begin. Again, next is the red and yellow soil. If you see the red and yellow soil, this complete portion which is in red, all this part, and over here also, this is known as the red and the yellow soil. Clear? Let's see. Areas. It is present in the eastern and southern part of the Deccan Plateau. As you've already seen in the map also, eastern and the southern part of the Deccan Plateau, where crystalline igneous rocks are present in these areas of low rainfall. So this again marks a very important condition for the presence of this particular soil. That means igneous rocks, crystalline igneous rocks, and the areas where the rainfall is less. So it is also found in the parts of Odisha, Chhattisgarh, southern areas of Middle Ganga Plain, along with it the Piedmont zone of the Western Ghats. So these are the regions where you will find the red and the yellow soil. Let's study further. Characteristics. Exhibits reddish color due to the wide diffusion of iron. Please remember iron. That is why this reddish color is present due to the iron. Iron in the crystalline and metamorphic rocks. It looks yellow in the hydrated state. Next, fine-grained soil here is normally fertile, while coarse-grained soil is dry upland areas are poor in fertility. And these are certain characteristics which again become very, very important for these particular rocks. What? Fine-grained. Fine-grained, do you realize what do you mean by fine-grained? Those where the texture is very fine, or the diameter is very less. The coarse are the ones where the diameter of the particles is large. So fine-grained soils is normally fertile, while coarse-grained in the dry uplands are poor in fertility. So you can note these down also, it's important. What is the mineral composition that is associated here? If you see, it is rich in iron, but it is deficit in phosphorus, nitrogen, and humus. Again, can be asked in your papers. You should be knowing the mineral composition. Next is the laterite soil. If you see the laterite soil, this region that is in orangish, this is laterite, this is laterite, this is laterite, this part also, and this part also. So by looking at the map itself, you know what are the regions where it is present, right? Let's move ahead. Laterite soil. Higher areas of the peninsular plateau, notably found in Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh, and the hilly regions of Odisha and Assam, as you've already seen in the previous part of the map. Characteristic, it is derived from the word later, which means brick. You will be understanding why it is called brick in the next slides. See here. It is derived from the word later. From the word later is laterite soil is derived, which basically means brick. Now see, form in the high temperature and rainfall area. So this is very, very important. These are those regions where the temperature is also very high and the rainfall is also very high, right? Now see, intense leaching washes away lime and silica, leaving behind soils rich in iron oxide and aluminium. So because of the excessive rain that takes place, the process of leaching through which all those minerals which are soluble in nature basically seep down, leaving behind which is iron and aluminium. So what happens? The laterite soil is widely cut as bricks for construction of the houses. Now what happens? Let us say you have the laterite soil. Because of this nature, people tend to cut them and use them as bricks. That is why the word later is used, which means brick. See mineral composition. It is rich in iron oxides and potash. Negative over here is, that means negative over here means deficit in nitrogen, phosphate, calcium and organic matter. Something very interesting line that is present in the NCERT, and you should be knowing that because it can be asked in your papers. The humus content in the soil is removed by the bacteria that thrives on high temperature. So this can be asked. What happens to the humus over here? It is the bacteria because that thrives on it, and because of that the humus content basically decreases. Clear? Okay. Next is arid soil. You very well know this is a region, arid soil. So let's see the characteristics. Areas, these are chiefly found in the western Rajasthan region. Now, characteristics, these are sandy. You very well know, based on texture, we had already defined or divided into sandy, silty, clay, and the one which is having equal proportion, it is known as loamy, right? So, sandy in structure and saline in nature. Now, due to the high temperature and the rapid evaporation, this soil lacks moisture. We very well know that this is a region where there is deficit of rain, right? Even when you see the region, let us say this particular region, you see on the western side of the Aravallis predominantly this arid soil is present at a major extent. Obviously it has its spread on the other parts also, but over here when the southwest monsoon is coming, it basically lies over here in a region where the Aravalli range is basically parallel to the southwest monsoon. It being parallel, so there is no source for the water to be shed here, and that is why this region becomes a region where receive almost very less or to none rainfall that is present. And this region is also marked by very high temperature, and that along with, you realize, because this is the case, so that means the vegetation will also be not fruitful. You've already seen the thorn forest that is present with respect to the vegetation chapter. So this region is obviously having the arid soil. Now let's see. So it lacks moisture. Notable feature is the concord layer, in which the lower horizon, that means due to the increasing calcium content. So again the concord layer is present inside, which has a calcium content there. Mineral composition, calcium is present, low humus and organic matter with this particular soil. Again you should remember this. Next is a forest soil. So you realize this particular region, and over here also, so forest soil is present. The forest soil is formed in the forest areas where sufficient rainfall is available. In the forest area and sufficient rainfall. So in places like Arunachal Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, even Sikkim region, so this is the region where forest soil are found. Now see, they are loamy. You very well know what do you mean by loamy. That means almost an equal proportion of the three types, that is sand, clay and silt. Obviously there might be silty nature also on the valley sides, and coarse grained in the upper slopes. Now in the snow bound areas, where the snow content is basically present for a very long period of the Himalayas, they experience denudation and the areas are acidic with low humus content that is present because of the snow bound area being there. So this is again a very important characteristics present in your NCERT. Both the soils in the lower valleys are notably fertile. Obviously in the valley region, these soils will be fertile in nature. So if you see the mineral composition, it is basically deficit in phosphorus, nitrogen, and potash. Again, very, very important characteristic. Let's move ahead. Saline soil. Now, these saline soils again are present in various arid, semi-arid, waterlogged, and swampy regions due to the dry climate and poor drainage system. So there is clogging again of water during the certain seasons. Because of that water clogging again, when evaporation takes place, it basically leads to such conditions also. So in the Western Ghats, eastern coast deltas, northern Sundarban areas of the West Bengal, such types of soil are predominantly found. When I talk about characteristics, you will realize that seawater incursion in the delta promote the occurrence of such soil. You very well know when the seawater basically enters the regions, the deltatic regions. Now, seawater has a lot of minerals present there, right? Sodium, magnesium, and all those minerals. So what happens? Based on that, you realize very often the water gets, let us say, stagnated in certain regions because when the water comes, so it might be there will be certain regions where water becomes stagnant because let us say there is a certain region. This is a region of your, this is a region that is present, let us say, and this is over here your sea. Now what happens is, supposingly this is a region where let us say some depression is there. Now if you realize this water during some season comes inside in gurses, and over here what happens, it will be stagnated because there is some depression present here. Now though the water has come, it is there for some time. If the evaporation takes place, now this region which cannot move back, the water cannot move back because of the release structure that is present, it will lead to what? The various minerals that are there will become stagnated there only. And that is why such types of soils might be created because of that also. So seaward incursion in the deltas promote occurrence of such soils. And even in the region of mangroves and all, we realize that the content of soil, the saline nature again becomes very high. So that is again, seawater is also playing a very important role over here, right? Okay. Experiences irrigation, excessive irrigation in dry conditions also promote or lead to this. Please understand, you realize that in the regions of Punjab particularly, and even Haryana, you realize that there is an over irrigation concept that is present, and due to the capillarity action, you realize that that basically leads to a crust of let us say a saline soil being present over here, and then you have to put a lot of gypsum on it in order to neutralize it. One of the various problems of decrease in the fertility in Punjab, along with many other reasons, is the increase in the salinity in the soil, and that is an outcome of excessive irrigation, and that is why the government also recommend them to use gypsum, in order to neutralize it. The mineral composition is sodium chloride, then again less, or what is deficit, it is nitrogen and calcium. Peaty soil, again, it occurs in the northern parts of Bihar, southern parts of Uttarakhand, in those regions like Terai region in Uttarakhand, and coastal areas of Bengal, Odisha, and Tamil Nadu. These are found in those areas of heavy rainfall and very high humidity. These soils are basically found there. Now, these are areas where adequate drainage is not possible. Again, the water gets stagnated in these regions. Rich in organic matter, can grow up to 40 to 50%. So what happens? Positive, that is what is excess humus, organic matter, and salinity in certain parts. There will be certain regions where saline as well as the peaty soil overlap. So these are also cases. Deficit in potash and phosphate. So these are again the mineral composition. Now, important concepts and terms that are associated or present in your NCERT. Now see, if you see various concepts being present, if I see the outer circle, that means what covers almost everything. First is the soil degradation, right? Within the soil degradation, one of the instance or part can be through what sources soil degradation can take place. One is soil erosion. Within the soil erosion, you can take two aspects which we study, sheet erosion or the gully erosion, right? So let's see the first. This is the outermost, soil degradation. It refers to the decline in the soil fertility. Remember, it refers to the decline in the soil fertility marked by reduction in nutritious status. The depth of soil goes down due to erosion and misuse. Now, most important thing when I talk about degradation, the core idea is that the fertility of the soil is decreasing due to various reasons. If you want to remember it in this way, that will be the best way. Now, degradation of soil can happen through various ways. One is soil erosion. So when we study under this, the comes soil erosion. Now, what does soil erosion means? It means destruction of soil cover results from an imbalance between the soil formation process and the erosion. So what happens? If you disturb, see, when we talk about crops being grown or what, for that fertility is very important, right? If fertility is degrading, that means soil degradation. Now you will realize that there are various ways through which the topsoil or the soil cover is basically being disturbed, right? And that is basically referring to the soil erosion, because the rate at which those forces are happening are much more in comparison to the soil forming process. So that is known as soil erosion. Now soil erosion, if you see, we are broadly dealing with two types. First is the sheet erosion. The moment you see the sheet, that means you are referring to certain layer, a thin layer possibly, the top layer. So see here, it removes the fertile topsoil. It is common in the level land. Now see, if there is a level land and topsoil is being removed, the topsoil is being removed, this is known as what? Sheet erosion. And it generally takes place in those regions where the relief is almost relatively plain or the level land is present. Now comes the gully erosion, another type. It visibly fragments the agricultural land. Now what happens? It is, if you go to Chambal ravines and all where the gully erosions are present, you will be realizing that this basically is that extreme form of erosion where the land is almost fragmented into parts. If you go to Chambal ravine, the ravines or the erosion that has taken place, it will create cracks of so huge that even a person 8 feet height will be there. That also you can assume the level of erosion that has taken place or the gullies that have been created because of the erosion. Now this is the worst form. It is known as badland topography for a very specific reason, that it makes the land completely unfit for cultivation, because if you want to cultivate it again, you will have to fill the gullies, and every year again the problem happens that those gullies might be created. And the problem is, in order to fill that, you require so much amount of other let us say the so much soil, sand has to be put over there that it is not feasible and cost benefit is not going to be there. So this is again a very, very, very major important issue with respect to gully erosion. So this was the chapter of soil which we had to study. This is the second last chapter of the Indian geography with respect to the NCERT. Now if you do these, as I've already told you, I've guaranteed you, you will be able to solve all the questions from the static nature. If something comes from the current affair, obviously over there also you can link or use your common sense, what you've studied in the NCERTs, and you can get your answer. Now it is up to you whether you want to qualify this examination with confidence or you want to remain in the cycle of giving this examination again and again, again and again, again and again, and after 4 years regretting the fact, why didn't we listen to the teachers who were there? There will be a lot of people telling you a lot of things, but remember one thing, NCERT was important from the first time the civil services took place post independence till now also it is important. You want to do on your own everything, it is absolutely fine, but what is important here, that you follow the guidelines, that at least you do them, make your foundation so strong that when you are actually reading about the advanced concepts, it becomes very easy. Today when you have seen this series, you'll realize why is it mentioned UPSC NCERT series. I could have gone to a lot of advanced concept. For example, when I was teaching you climate, I could have gone to Magellan-Julian oscillation, MJ oscillations. I could have gone to various other concepts, ENSO's concept and all. Those are again very, very simple. But again, we did not go into all those concepts today because that was not required for the timing. There were certain things which we mentioned which the NCERT talks about, and that is what we have dealt. When we will come with the advanced series, we will be covering everything even in more detail. But for that, you need to study this, because if you do not know these, you will not be able to understand those advanced concepts. That is why I'm telling you again, all the lectures, all the 7 lectures that are there, this is a 6th lecture, all the 7 lectures that are there, if you do them properly, you will have an expertise with respect to the NCERT in the subject of geography, which is Indian geography right now. We will be covering the other geographies also later on. So take care. I guess you use this chapter well, use it for your benefit, use it for the reason that you want to be successful. So God bless you, take care, and we'll be meeting in the next session with another interesting topic of geography. Take care and Jai Hind.